Hey, what's up, guys, and welcome to another episode of Gamescript. This is a Christmas edition of the Philadelphia Eagles versus the New York Giants. And there is a player on this slate that has the best matchup, not only of this game, but probably the entire Christmas slate. And I'll get into it after this. There is a ton of value in current underdog playoff best ball ADP. Elite offenses like the Bills are easy to stack. Take advantage of uncertainty and start drafting now. Use the promo code SEEK for up to $100 match on your first deposit. And subscribe to Heat Seeker Sports on YouTube for underdog strategy and drafting shows. What's up, guys? Simon Edwards at Pumacom here with Heat Seeker Sports, and you're watching Gamescript. And in this edition, I'm going to be looking at the New York Giants at the Philadelphia Eagles on Christmas. It is a 43.5 point total with Philadelphia as 13.5 point favorites. And this is going to be a good game because it's a get-right spot for Philadelphia. Their passing game has been pretty bad for the past few weeks. And Philadelphia just in general needs a boost to their system after losing a couple in a row. And they've had some tough matchups recently. They went through a pretty brutal stretch for a minute there and started it off pretty good, winning a bunch of games, but then they lost their last couple, including a game to Seattle last week that they should have won. So they are in a get-right spot this week. And there is a guy on the Eagles with probably the best matchup on the entire three-game slate today. And I'll get into that in a second. But first, hit that like button, looking for 15 likes today. And hit the subscribe on the YouTube channel. When I get to 300, I'm trying to get to 300 subscribers. I'm about 40 short of that. So appreciate the help there. And make sure to sign up for an Underdog account. When you sign up for Underdog using the promo code SEEK, S-E-E-K, like it's on the bottom of the screen here, you will get up to $100 match on your first deposit. So if you're opening a new account on Underdog and use the promo code SEEK, S-E-E-K, like Heat Seekers, they will give you up to $100 match on your first deposit. And that is great if you like pick'ems. Underdog is kind of the king of the pick'ems. And on top of that, playoff best ball is happening right now. And it is a great game to play, probably the most fun. It's my best game to play. And I do a lot of content for playoff best ball. And I teamed up with Underdog on this promo, and I'm going to be putting out a ton of content, which is why you want to subscribe to the YouTube page. I've recommended a couple great plays so far that have improved their playoff odds to about 75% this past week, and they are still a value play. And there are plenty of other value plays out there. I'll go over it all and set us up to have nice runs during the playoff for Underdog playoff best ball. So let's get into this. Game. The Eagles are heavy favorites in this game, and I think that makes a lot of sense. I don't see this as being, any type of trap game or anything like that. The Eagles have, I think they had their trap game basically last week against the Seahawks in a game they should have won, and they ended up losing. And now they're in a get-right spot against the Giants. And I think that get-right spot is going to be mainly a get-right for the passing game. But I think that DeAndre Swift also has a good matchup. But as far as the passing game, that's where I want to focus. And I think that Jalen Hurts bounces back in this game. He had 24 DraftKings points last week, 10 the week before that against Dallas, 24 against San Francisco. And he's had a slew of great games. His points mainly come from those rushing touchdowns at the 1 yard line, though. They've been they always seem to be on that 1 yard line, and Hurts always seems to get those 1 yard line touchdowns. Swift is not involved in those touchdowns, or none of the running backs are involved in those touchdowns, but Hurts tends to capitalize in those. And I think that this is going to be a game that is not going to slow him down. He's against the Giants. It's an easy matchup for a quarterback because the Giants are giving up 23.4 DraftKings points, or actually, 16 DraftKings points a game to the quarterback position. They're giving up 22.7 DraftKings points a game to the running back position. 18.1 DraftKings points a game to the wideouts, 21.4 DraftKings points a game to the slot receivers. Those are all among the receivers are among the league worst. And then they're giving up 10.4 DraftKings points a game to the tight end, which is among the league best. So they're really good against tight end. They're bad against receivers, and they're middling against quarterbacks and running backs. As far as the opposite side, the Eagles are giving up 23.4 DraftKings points a game to the quarterback position, which sets up Mr. DeVito today to have a decent game. 21.2 DraftKings points a game to the running back position, which is middling. They started off the season pretty good against running backs. In these last few games, they have just had a downward spiral with their running defense. They've given up 12.7 DraftKings points a game to wideouts, 20.1 DraftKings points a game to slot receivers, and 11.5 DraftKings points a game to tight end. All those are middling. So I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong game. They've given up 19.2 DraftKings points a game to wideouts, and they've given up 27 DraftKings points a game to slot receivers. Those are both among the league worst. I thought that sounded weird. But they've only given up 11.7 DraftKings points a game to tight end. That's middling. But Darren Waller leads the team in target share, and Darren Waller is set up to have a decent game, especially if he is getting locked in on by Tommy DeVito. Last week in his first game back after a stint on the IR, I believe, he had 6 targets, 4 receptions, and 40 yards. Put up only 8 DraftKings points, but that's a good sign if he's getting 6 targets in his first game back. Kind of consistent with him leading the team in target share. DeVito, just for reference, had 10.6 DraftKings points last week. Prior to that, he's had 17.42 against Green Bay, 11 versus New England. His biggest game was against Washington. He had 22.54 points. Now, this Philly defense is just about as bad as Washington when it comes to the passing game. So I would not be surprised to see if DeVito has, like a game in that 18 to 20 point range. So don't rule out Tommy DeVito as a option for today's slate. AJ Brown is the guy that has the best matchup on the slate. He is heavily targeted in man coverage, among the league's most, and the Giants use man coverage at a high rate. They blitz a ton. AJ Brown also has among the league most targets under the blitz, courtesy of Rich Rebar over at Sharp Football Analysis. And it's just a great matchup in general. To be specific, against man coverage, Brown has a league high 49.1% of the team targets and 53% of the air yards. That comes from Rich Rebar. His article's free today, by the way. Go check out Sharp Football Analysis to get his worksheet article. He has all sorts of great nuggets like this. He also said that Brown has 45% of the team's targets and 52% of the team's air yards against the blitz. So this is a heavily great matchup for AJ Brown today, and I think he's probably my locked-in captain today for the most part. So I'm just going to put him in now. Of course, with that, DeVonta Smith is going to suffer. Smith has not done too much lately. He had 10 points against Seattle, 11 points versus versus Dallas. Prior to that, he had a couple 24 and 26 point games, but he's been up and down all season. I think this is going to be more of a down week for him with the matchup that AJ Brown has. I just think it's going to be a big AJ Brown day today. SAQUON Barkley, he's got that good matchup, but he's been up and down to this week, this season too. Only 6 DraftKings points last week, 24 the week before that, 6 the week before that, 30 the week before that. So it's up and down with this guy, and he has the decent matchup this week. So I don't hate rotating him in, but I don't think he's a lock this week. DeAndre Swift is due for some regression. He's had 4 bad weeks in a row. and New York Giants are giving up 21 DraftKings points a game to the running back position, or 22.7 DraftKings points a game to the running back position. So DeAndre is set up for a nice game, given that the Eagles are 13.5-point favorites. So I can see DeAndre Swift getting some usage. The only hindrance to DeAndre Swift this week is the seemingly intentional usage of Boston Scott versus the Giants. Boston Scott is down here at 1,400, and he has scored touchdowns against the Giants in a ridiculous amount of these games. I'll get into that with Pro Football Reference. I'm going to switch over to this for a second. All right, so let's look up Boston Scott. And we're going to do his game logs versus the Giants. And all the Eagles fans and a lot of DFS guys are familiar with this this history against the Giants. But as far as his touchdowns, look at this. Touchdown in both games last year. Touchdown in both games in 2021, touchdown in 2020, one game where he didn't score a touchdown against New York. And then in 2019, he had 3 touchdowns and 1 touchdown. So that's out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, out of 8 games, he has 9 touchdowns out of 8 games. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, 9 touchdowns out of 8 games versus the Giants. And it's basically a touchdown a game with this guy. And the question is going to be, will the touchdown he scores against New York today be enough to get him in an optimal lineup? I like him as salary relief at 1,400. He's an easy guy to use as salary relief today. And we're probably going to need it with all these studs. So just keep that in mind with Boston Scott. It's probably intentional at this point that they try to, just kick the Giants in the nuts with it, or, something like, but Boston Scott, for whatever reason, has a touchdown in just about every game he's played with the Eagles against those Giants. So if we go next to Dallas Goedert does not have a good matchup this week. I'm not on Dallas Goedert this week. I've been on him, for a few weeks this season, but this does not represent a Dallas Goedert game. Waller, I talked about, he's got that high target share. We move on to the Eagles defense. They're in play this week, but not heavily in play at 5,600. Just their inability to stop offenses. I just don't see a reason to pay 5,600 for the Eagles today. Wan'Dale Robinson. The main tandem of wide receivers for the Giants is Wan'Dale, Jalen Hyatt, and Darius Slayton. Wan'Dale is the slot receiver, and the Eagles giving up 27 DraftKings points a game to the slot is a great matchup for Wan'Dale Robinson today, and I don't mind working him in as a Giants receiver that can have some success against the Eagles. Darius Slayton, the other guy, he has a good matchup today too, and he hasn't he's been up and down for the most part, but he's the guy I want to rotate probably one of these Giants receivers into all my lineups, mainly with what's his face, Darren Waller, but probably have a different rotation of these receivers in all my lineups. Jake Elliott, he is set up to have a decent game today, but they probably be scoring touchdowns. They're not going to have trouble scoring touchdowns, I don't think. But Jake Elliott is a guy that can be clutch when we need him, so keep him in your player pool. Kenny Gainwell, not so high on Kenny Gainwell today because I think Swift and Scott are where I think the touchdowns will go today. Jalen Hyatt, Hyatt is the other guy. He's only had 3, 3, 6, 2 targets, but he's kind of he's got a ton of upside, which I like about him. What's up, bud?
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, bud. Here, I'm gonna go finish my show. I'll be right down, okay?
Okay.
So Jalin Hyatt is a guy that we want to keep on our player pool. He's got he's only 3,600, so he's cheap on top of it. Giants D is 3,400. Not interested there. Matt Breida, not interested there. The Boston Scott is the cheap guy that I'm interested in today at 1,400. Then you got Zacchaeus and Watkins, who are both kind of splitting those third wide receiver duties for the Eagles, but I don't really have a ton of interest there unless we need to go cheap. But if we're going cheap, I'm going Boston Scott pretty much. And other than that, I think that's about it. So let's build this lineup. Jalen Hurts, I'm going to add into that. I'm going to put in DeAndre Swift. Running it back, I'm going to run it back with, where's he at? Darren Waller. And I'm going to run it back. I'm going to throw, what's his face? Boston Scott in there too. For the salary relief, that puts us at 4,900. In that range, we can use Jake Elliott. We can use Kenny Gainwell if you wanted to. Jalin Hyatt. Gives you some options there. I like that build. I think that builds pretty easily actually, and just sets it up for like a nice game. If you wanted to, you could swap out Brown and Hurts. Let's put Hurts in the captain and throw Brown in there. That leaves us with 5,800. That leaves us an even better spot. We can put Wandale, Slayton. That gives us an option for either of those guys as well as the Eagles. But that kind of goes to show what kind of matchup that Brown has if he's that much more salary relief to put Hurts in the captain over him. So that's probably my lean. I'd probably keep it simple in this game. I really think it's going to be Brown or Hurts. That is the captain this week. I wouldn't hate using a guy like if we used a guy. Okay, let's do a Giants build. Let's put Hyatt in there. Let's say that the Giants are aware they're going to need to put up points today, and they are launching the ball to Hyatt. That's going to put our friend Tommy DeVito in there as well. And let's put Waller in there as a second guy for them. Let's put in Hurts and Brown because there's not going to be slowing down of Brown today. That leaves us with 6,600. That also puts us in a good spot. If we wanted to, instead of Waller, maybe we use Barkley because I think Barkley would be more instrumental. 4K, that leaves us with the Giants. Defense would probably need to help them for them to set them up. So I don't hate the Giants defense there. And they're only 3,400. And Giants defense is not bad. Like they are not a bad defense. But that sets us up in that range for guys to use. If we wanted to use Slayton instead of Hyatt, this might be like a way to go. Is just like swap out these Giants receivers in the captain. That leaves us at 1,300. Not quite Boston Scott territory. So Barkley's a little bit pricey to get in there. I think I'd probably prefer Waller, but Barkley, we all know his upside. So it gives you some options for today's slate. I'm going to get to Christmas, but make sure to. Oh, didn't even have my my DraftKings up there. There we go. So just to reiterate. This is the lineup with Barkley. If you take Saquon out of there and you throw in Waller, we got Wandale Robinson as a captain in there, and now leaves us with 3,900. Leaves us in Jalin Hyatt territory. If you wanted to give another, I wouldn't put more than 2 receivers with the Giants today. But if you wanted Jalin Hyatt in that captain, that leaves you at that 6,600 spot where you can put in Eagles, Wandale, Slayton or whatever. But like I said, I wouldn't put in an extra receiver there. So let's throw in Barkley in this lineup. Barkley, that leaves us with 4K. That leaves us with that Giants D and some options there. Boston Scott. The other lineup I built, we got Brown in the captain with Hurts and DeAndre Swift. And then I'm adding in Darren Waller and Boston Scott. And then you have that 4,900 to play with. You got Elliott, Hyatt, guys like that in that range. If you swap out Hurts and Brown, let's put Hurts in that captain and put in Brown. That leaves us with 5,800. And that is the Eagles, Wandale, Slayton, and Elliott, guys like that. So make sure to hit that like button. Give me to 15 likes. It's Christmas, for frick's sake. And make sure to subscribe to that YouTube channel. Looking for 400 subscribers. I've got 260 right now, so I'm only 40 short of that number. And sign up for Underdog. It's Christmas. Sign up for Underdog. Get some of these damn playoff best ball lineups in there. It's a fun game to play. And if you use the promo code SEEK, S-E-E-K, then you're going to get up to $100 match on your first deposit. And, I look good to Underdog when you guys do that. So hook me up, and I appreciate it, guys. And I'll be back a little bit later with the San Francisco game and try to get a 3-game slate in there. Thanks, guys.